Welcome to Palm Paradise, powered by Boca Magazine. I'm Christiana Lilly.
I'm Olivia Holaus.
And we are 2/3 of the Palm Queens. If you're watching us on YouTube, you will notice that somebody is missing, Portia.
Yeah, it really does feel kind of weird not having her here.
Yeah, but she's fine. She's just at UCF visiting her daughter. So
That's
she
right.
will be back for the next episode. But so today, just Olivia and I are going to have to be alone.
We're going to have to make it interesting, just you and I. But listen, the latest issue of Boca Mag is out.
Yay! Boca Magazine. The April issue is out, although our printer was very ambitious this issue. I know you got it like St. Patrick's Day.
I literally barely finished the previous issue, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's out already.
Yep. So we have, I love the cover on this. We did a really beautiful equestrian shoot at the Santa Rita Polo Grounds. So that was our cover. And then two fun stories. This is kind of like a loose travel issue.
Yeah.
My story of when I went to Colombia last fall is now out.
Okay.
And I went to Northern Colombia to Barranquilla and Santa Marta, which turns 500 this year.
Oh my gosh. And here we are celebrating 100 years of
I know.
Boca,
They're probably
so they're
like,
at 500.
What? And then we also did a really fun story called Road Tripping, where there's just so many weird roadside attractions in Florida. And as we were putting this together, we just realized how weird Florida is, and I love it.
It is a little bit weird. But like, are you into road tripping? Like, do you like being in the car for long stretches?
To a point.
Yeah.
And I know when I was in college, like, we both went to UF. And then I went to Mardi Gras twice. So we drove from Gainesville to New Orleans, and it was like an 8-hour drive. Now I would be like, we are booking a flight.
Yeah,
I am
right.
not sitting in the car for 8 hours. But my sister lives in Savannah, and it probably takes as long to fly there because you have to get layovers. So I might as well just drive. So that's a 6-hour drive. And I think for me personally, that's my cap.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of like you as well. Like I don't love, like, I can't envision myself doing a road trip, like a cross-country road trip. Like, as much as I think it would be a great experience.
Yeah.
Because you really get to see things, you know, up close and personal. I don't think I'd have the patience to do that.
And I've seen it in sitcoms where it's like there's this romanticized idea of hitting the road and making all these stops. But then by like hour 2, you're fighting over what music to listen to or what podcast to listen to. Palm Paradise is always a good idea for those long road trips. But that was just such a fun story because like the country's smallest post office is in Florida.
Where is it?
It's in Ochope, which is somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the Everglades. And it's literally like they converted a storage shed into, and it's like a proper U.S. post office.
USPS.
Yes, and it fits like one person at a time, I think. And then we have the tombstone for the country's oldest man. This man claims that when he died, he was 130. And he probably wasn't, but you know, it's just all this fun lore and just weird places and like, you know, the world's largest fiberglass lobster is in Isla Mirada.
All right.
Yeah. So
I love it.
So pick up the next issue, April, and you can find out whenever you're on the road where you need to stop off at.
And again, I think you've been hitting it out of the park with the covers. I mean, these covers, like, month after month have really been like really stunning. I know.
Thank you. Yeah, Lori, our art director, led this shoot and it was just fantastic. And, you know, we worked with a lot of different high-end designers and it's just nice to have some variety on the cover. So I think this one will do well too.
No, beautiful, beautiful. So what else is next for you? Like what's new for you in the month of April?
In April.
Do you have like something, do you have anything like to look forward to or?
Yeah, I'm going to be visiting my family in DC, which means I'm going to be missing Boca Bacchanal, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to miss it this year.
But Chrissy's coming.
Yeah, Christy, our food editor, will be there and she will be eating and drinking everything.
But you'll be doing that with your family,
yes,
which is always a great thing.
Exactly. What about you in April?
In April, I'm going to Paris.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Your biannual trip.
Anytime I can go, I'm there. But yeah, my favorite city. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay.
Post Boca Bacchanal.
Right. I know that's something that just takes up so much of your time.
It does. And I just think, again, like sometimes it's just so good to go out and disconnect for a few days and then you come back refreshed. I think we all need that. So it's going to be a little bit of work, a little bit of pleasure, and hopefully I'll come back inspired.
Yeah, April for us also is a big month because not because it's April, but because we're closing on our big centennial issue, the May-June issue to celebrate Boca turning 100, not 500, but 100. And it's just been something we started talking about it last summer, because obviously this is something that we were like, we're not going to be around for the next the bicentennial, you know, we really need to knock it out of the park. And I'm sure our lovely friends at the Boca Historical Society are tired of hearing me like, I need another photo of Butts Farm. Do you have another photo from the Murakami? Do you have this photo of this person?
And you need like high-res images too, right?
Exactly. So sometimes they have to scan them for us or rescan them for us. And they've just been so helpful. And I was actually there yesterday with you.
I was going to actually bring that up. Okay. You did such an amazing job moderating this panel that was comprised of women leaders in our community. And we really got a chance to see our history through their eyes.
That's actually, that was the name of the panel, was Through Her Eyes.
I wonder where I took that from. But you did such a great job.
Thank you. It was that was a really great panel. We had obviously Margaret Mary on there. We had Wendy Larson, Marie Hester, Sue Gillis, our favorite Sue Gillis, and Marta Batmazian. And so they were able to talk about, you know, different eras, so to speak, in Boca. And, you know, Sue was able to cover the earlier days, since, you know, those women unfortunately aren't around anymore to tell their stories. Just about like, and it just fascinates me about like the women that came here in like the 1890s and the 1900s that were like, swampland, count me in.
Yeah, I mean, this was literally a swamp. There was nothing, you know, so for them to really come and be open to it. I mean, standing ovation to them.
Exactly. And this is before, like, you know, AC.
Oof, mosquitoes.
Running water. Oh my God.
Well, we have a lot to thank, you know.
And we cover a lot of that in the May-June issue, another teaser in a feature I wrote called The Women Who Built Boca. And I think when you're in a pioneer time in your community, it's kind of all hands on deck. A lot of those gender roles didn't exist because it was like, you have time to be the postmaster, you do it.
Which I don't think we realized, because we always think, you know, back then it was very much the gender roles were very clear, but they really weren't, you know? And, you know, I love how the ladies last night, they really were all about the 1980s too. Like Boca, I guess, in the 1980s was like an awesome, like a Renaissance era. So that was really cool to hear.
Or as Marta called it, she said it was hedonistic. Which that's what I've heard from people that moved down here in the 80s. They were like, it was like the Wild West, like lawless country. Oh my God. To just get a peek of what it was like in the 80s and the 70s, that should be a TV show on its own.
Oh, absolutely. I think you are onto something.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe another a side hustle. You could be writing the script for that. So, yeah.
I don't know about that, but I'll just come up with the ideas. So, well, speaking of ideas, I know this is my segue that I'm trying to do here.
It's going. I'm going with you. I'm going with you.
We have a fabulous portrait artist that is going to be on. His name is Kyle Lux, and he's done some really incredible pieces. And I know you met him through some friends and thought we need to have him on Palm Paradise. So stay tuned. We have Kyle Lux.
Well, we are joined by Kyle Lux, a highly sought after portrait artist who specializes in athletes, musicians, and other high profile figures. So thank you, Kyle, for joining us.
Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor.
Well, it's great to have you. Really
so, Olivia, you suggested having Kyle on. Tell me how you guys connected, because you were just like a connector.
Well, we were connected by another connector. You know, it's such a small community. It's big, but small at the same time. So we have a mutual friend, Hallie, who reached out and said, I really want you to meet Kyle. He's going to be coming down to Boca. He wants to visit the Boca Raton Historical Society. And then one thing led to another. We finally got to meet in person. And now we have Kyle on Palm Paradise.
Excellent. And I'm really excited because I was stalking your Instagram before you came on here, as any good journalist does. And I just loved, like, you have Coco Gauff, who is a local hero here, and then Lionel Messi, Jason Tatum, but then also a lot of musicians. And so tell me, like, how long does it take to complete one of your pieces? Because they're pretty intricate, you know?
So about 2 weeks of nonstop painting. And that's because it's acrylic, it dries fast. We're in the South Florida heat. So that works to my advantage, but the process takes about a month. There's a design phase, there's a research phase, which I really enjoy, but I just round up to a month. And when I take commissions, I tell people 8 to 12 weeks because I'm not getting to it right away. There is that process involved in drying time, the approval process. So but I work out of my house, my home studio. And so when I do it all day, every day, it's countless hours, but I can generally do it in about 2 weeks.
That's like the artist's dream, right? To be able to do art full time, not having to be a barista and an artist.
Right. Yeah, it hasn't always been this way. I have a marketing degree. I was in corporate events, which is why I'm sensitive to audio and lighting and event setup and coordination.
You asked very good questions before we hit the camera rolling.
Thank you. So that was what I was doing as my art was growing. So I wasn't in the coffee shop. I wasn't teaching art class with a fine arts degree or anything like that. I was using my marketing degree and advertising experience and traveling the world. But yeah, this took a while to get to this point where my art can sustain 100% of my lifestyle and income.
Oh, that's amazing. And, Kyle, you're originally from St. Louis, Missouri, right? Mm-hmm. And
my family is
really.
Well, I'm not from there, but my parents. Anyway,
I keep forgetting that. But you're
after
right.
Conversation.
Yeah.
But I think from reading a little bit more about you is that you actually discovered your love of art at a very young age, right? So tell us a little bit about that. When did you know this is what I love to do?
It runs on my mom's side of the family. The actual fine art of it, the drawing, my grandmother was an opera singer, classically trained. So that gene is on that side of the family. My dad's side, I got the engineering mind and things I could build, and all of it came together. But my mom stayed home to raise my sister and I when we were really young. And so it was just constant art influence, whether it was finger painting on the floor, watching animated TV shows and watercolor. And she was able to tell me about it and educate me informally as opposed to being in class. So all of that just snowballed pretty quickly. And I did a drawing that I finished right about my 10th birthday. And I was an avid reader of Sports Illustrated for Kids. They had a reader submitted art gallery in the back. That was my dream at the time, to be in that. And so I submitted my drawing with the help of my mom. She was in corporate America, so she helped me get the drawing scanned, digitized at the time. That you couldn't just take a photograph of it,
right.
And to get it in a way that we could send it to Sports Illustrated, and then waited patiently for 2 years until I was finally in the magazine.
Oh my gosh! So you're running to the magazine stand, every issue.
Waiting.
Every month for 2 years, I'd run to the mailbox. About that same time of the week every month and waiting to get my issue. And finally it showed up December of 98. Oh, and so it took about, just over 2 years.
I wonder why it took them so long.
Well, Sports Illustrated at the time was part of a bigger conglomerate, a lot going on. And I'm sure they were getting thousands of submissions. And so by the time they got to me and realized it, I got the letter that I was accepted after I got the issue. They were a little backlogged, and they said I was 12. So it's funny, like a little ego thing at being a young age. I was like, I was 10.
That's right.
I'm 12 now, but I created this.
Maybe 20% older. I was 10 when I did this, and but either way, it was a great show and tell piece. Yeah. I was at the right age to be using this to show my teachers and classmates. I was really proud of this and something I could share with my family and my mom especially. And that was the first, I guess when the bug set in, like, oh, this is cool to be recognized for this. I'm going to keep going.
And then fast forward to today, you just had one of your pieces of Jack Nicklaus auctioned off to raise money for a local charity.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us about that.
Yeah, every so often, the perk of the job really rears its head, and that's allowing me to meet people and have experiences that I can't buy. In the athletic sense, I wasn't good enough to get to the Super Bowl and be in the locker room and have that experience. But if my artwork can get me there and get me in these rooms, that's an amazing part of what I do. And so I did this painting of Jack celebrating the 50th anniversary of one of his most famous shots ever, 1972 at the U.S. Open. I unveiled the painting on the anniversary, so that was June of 22, and the painting was on my wall. I showed it around, and it wasn't selling. And that's not totally uncommon. Some paintings take a while. But the opportunity came up when I found out that Chasing a Dream Foundation was having a golf-themed gala, and what it was going to support. I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. I have the painting for a reason still. This is the reason. And so I thought, let's try to make something happen here. Let's see if we can get in touch with Jack and his team and get him to autograph it, because it never fails. The athlete's autograph adds a little more value than just mine.
Well, then they're paired with having this amazing golf icon signature as well as your beautiful painting.
Right.
So that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And it raised a good chunk of money, and all thanks to Jack and everybody else who helped coordinate that. It was a huge success.
That's really great. And you're super community driven, which is awesome. What is it about athletes specifically that draws you to them?
Well, there's always a story behind it. The way we like watching movies and theater, like it's a story that we're being drawn into, and there's a protagonist and antagonist, and all of the things that get us emotionally connected. And so that happens in sports, and you have your teams or your players. And so I think just at the deepest emotional level, I get drawn into these stories, and I want to bring them to life in my own way. And so that what's hanging on the wall is a version of telling that story. It's not the book that was written about it or the biopic or anything like that. Yeah, it's a two-dimensional rectangular canvas, but my hope is that I can capture that power and the emotion of the athlete and or the horse as I'm painting new equestrian pieces.
Big here.
Yeah, but that people see that and go, that speaks to me. I want to have that on my wall. I want to invest in that piece and invest in you, and allow me to keep doing it. And so it can keep paying it forward and finding new collectors and telling more stories.
And I saw that you don't just do athletes. You also have like actors, politicians, or just like, iconic figures. And I saw you recently sold a piece of Donald Trump, and he had sorry, I just bumped my microphone. Sorry, everybody.
Talking too much with your hands.
I know. And so it was Donald Trump, and he had Post Malone's tattoos on him. And you were talking about this wasn't meant to be like a political piece, but it was, something that got people talking. Can you talk a little bit about how art is more than just something pretty on the wall? It gets people talking and maybe disagreeing or having conversations.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you want to draw some emotion out of the artwork. If not, then it's not really doing its job. So it's probably the most provocative piece to date that I've painted because of the political affiliation, and people aren't really sure how to interpret it, which some artists, that's every single piece they create. They don't title them. They don't tell you what it's about. They want people to have a little bit of anxiety, like what's going on here, and trying to figure it out. A lot of mine are so literal. It's obvious. I'm Jack Nicklaus, and this is what he's doing.
No anxiety.
Yeah, no face tattoos on Jack. So when I thought of this idea, it was in 2019, back to my example of paintings can take a while to sell.
Right. That was something that surprised me.
I was 6 years old, and it just took that amount of time for people to see it and forget about it from 2019 and then come back around. It didn't hurt that President Trump was elected again, and it kind of came back to being top of mind. But Post Malone is also still around.
Right.
His whole country resurgence helped. So it's funny how these cycles happen. And when I did it, it was just one of those, you have ideas floating around the back of your head. And they all aligned one day. I was driving down the road and I heard Post Malone on the radio, probably hours after I read a headline about Trump and maybe being censored on Twitter, and just what was going on, the tension in society at that point, and thought, well, this is interesting. How about I give Trump an alter ego as a moonlighting rapper after a hard day's work in the White House. Yeah. What's he want to do to let his hair down? He can't play golf at night. So what's he doing? He's getting in the studio and he's dropping an album. And so that's, I don't know, it's just one of those fun ideas of like, that's where the face tattoos came from. So regardless of political affiliation, it was the president. It could have been Obama. It could have been anybody, Reagan. What's their outlet? And people have creative outlets, and so that's why I thought.
Who would have thought Post Malone and Donald Trump's career trajectory would make the sale for you in 2025?
Right. It just goes to show. But well, talking about your, taking a break, right? Like when you're not doing your art, working on your pieces, how do you de-stress and just completely kind of, take a break from that? You don't.
I absolutely love what I do. So it's fun to be creative. And so I'll have ideas all the time. And my creative outlet, kind of what breaks the routine of being in the studio is going to the gym. And I like these group workout classes. I don't have to think about building my routine and hitting back and biceps on one day and all that. It's like I did all that in college. So I pay to have a trainer yell at me for 55 minutes, 45 minutes sometimes, and just get me through the workout. I can not think about what I do all day long. But it's funny, we have a sauna at the gym, and so I bought a waterproof pad. So I can, if I'm sitting there for 15, 20 minutes without my phone, anything else, I can free think and still come up with ideas. And I'll think of sculptures and things that require skills that I don't have, but that's a way to still be creative in my true self without thinking that I have to paint and varnish and Photoshop and do the day-to-day of being an artist and my type of art.
And I imagine that might be a little bit less of a stressor, that you're just creating art without the intention of, I need to sell this or something. It's just, I'm just creating to create.
Yeah. I haven't had that feeling in a long time. And that's what the route I chose. I like having that motivation. And every once in a while I'll do a piece that I don't know where it's going to go, or maybe it doesn't look like my style and I don't know how it's going to sell, and maybe I don't want to sell it. But I am used to the process of, this has a home to go in because it's been commissioned, or this is a sports story that is hot right now and I will find somebody that loves this as much as I do. So I do, like, every so often. It's not planned. It's not like a sabbatical. I think I heard on a recent podcast of yours, someone's husband was getting a sabbatical. It's like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I just, once in a while, I need the break from all of it. Yeah. And I'll spend a couple days and mess around with a new thing I found at the art store.
And that's so cool. Now, you recently moved here. Like, it's only been a few years, right? Yeah. I mean, how has, our community, West Palm Beach, how has it embraced you? Are you loving it? Do you feel settled? Do you see yourself being here for many years? It's only questions all in one question, but yeah.
No, that's great. I'm coming up on 4 years. So June will be 4 years. And I will admit the first 18 months was quite the adjustment period. I didn't grow up having this dream of living by the beach and swimming in the salt water and surfing. Like, none of that was a dream. I'm from the Midwest. And
landlocked.
I'm honestly more of a mountain person. When I went to Arizona State, I was getting up early and hiking the mountain and seeing the sunrise and all of that. So that was more my speed. So once I got used to the sand being everywhere, literally everywhere, there's no way around it.
You don't even go to the beach and there's sand in your car.
Yeah, it's in the car, it's in the house. So once I got used to that and the rain and the things that just come with being in South Florida, I was so happy with the decision I made. The most impulsive decision I made ever was to move here about 10 weeks after I visited for the first time. And I didn't know much about the area. And so when the community embraced me as well as they did, and I met these people who were so genuine, like I was used to back in the Midwest, and took me under their wing and said, I'll introduce you to this person. I'll give you this show. Like, it might not be a gallery, but it's somewhere to show your work and to get out these ideas that you have. And so that all really picked up quickly. And I've tried to reciprocate. I donate. I go to the chamber breakfasts. I network. And I'm a part of the community. I'm not expecting to receive just all of this influx of attention and everything without doing my part. And that was also a fresh start for me. Coming out of St. Louis, coming out of COVID, it's like, I'm starting from scratch. Let's do this the right way, and let's be a part of this community and enjoy where we live and the time we're here.
What a great outlook. I love that.
It is. Took a lot of courage too, and you did it, and very inspiring.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, Kyle, where can people find your work, either in the real world or digital? Where can people learn more about you?
So I get this question all the time about what gallery am I in, or where am I showing? And it's not a constant, which I prefer, actually, because I am commissioned. I like having my home studio. I like collectors come over. We'll talk on the couch about what they have in mind. They can see things to scale. Like, this is what a 4-foot painting looks like next to the mantle, next to the couch. And maybe one day I'll get in a gallery. But with my model, I have to show on occasion. And it's a couple times a year. So I have my next exhibition will be at the USPA shop at the National Polo Center, April 20th, which is Easter Sunday. I'm going to have new paintings to show. Okay. I'm really excited about this foray of sports art into the equestrian world. And so I'm still painting people, but they're on top of horses, which is it's fun and it's a new look for horses. So that's my next in-person event. But I'm always updating my Instagram page at Kyle Lux Fine Art. And then I have my website as well, kylelux.com. And through either outlet, there is a way to get the information as it comes out. I have a newsletter, I have a broadcast channel, and there's so much to keep up with everybody's accounts, with all the way social media is getting out there. It's a beautiful time to be in, but we are overwhelmed. So I try to push out the information so people don't have to keep an eye on my accounts constantly, because it can be easy to miss something.
Right. All right. Well, everybody go follow Kyle on Instagram, and we hope the best for you. And I'm sure we'll see you around town too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
What a good get. Thank you for making that introduction with Kyle. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how he grows in the community and what else he comes up with. If we have, I don't know, Teddy Roosevelt with Sabrina Carpenter hair. I don't know.
And listen, as an artist, you can create anything. No, I really enjoyed chatting with him as well. And, he's super talented.
Right.
He uses different techniques to bring his art pieces to life. And I can't do what he does. I mean, I can barely illustrate like something. So I'm always very inspired.
At best, I can doodle. And even then, it's questionable.
My doodles are like hearts and stars and flowers. The same doodles since, high school in my notebooks.
So I am really glad that we're finally going into our double issues. I know the last couple episodes, it's been like, new issue. Yeah. Now we're finally getting into the summer slowdown. But I don't know how much things have been, like, it used to be like, oh, Boca's dead in the summer. But it kind of isn't, but I don't know. What for you, what are summers like here?
We're skipping town.
Oh yeah, you guys dip out.
We do dip out completely from June to August. We go out of the country. But from what I've been hearing is that there are still things happening. But it does slow down in the sense that all of the nonprofits also slow down. There's
gala season comes to a halt.
Gala season, cocktail season, luncheons,
golf tournaments,
all that. It really does slow down, and I think it's a welcoming reprieve for sure. Like I'm exhausted. I mean, I'm losing my voice. Like I think like at this time in the year, it's like you're exhausted.
Yeah. No, I am. Like I kind of came into the studio today a hot mess. I was like, oh my God, my nails are chipped. I'm having to do like the quick 5-minute makeup because it's just so much going on. You know what I mean? I mean, like I embrace that, whatever. But it's just like constantly like luncheons and meeting people, which is great. I know at the beginning of season, I'm always excited. I guess it's kind of like the holiday season. By the end, you're ready for it to be over and going on to the next thing. And then once it comes back, it's exciting. You're refreshed and it's exciting again.
Exactly. And I think, again, it just makes, proves a point that we all need to sometimes step back and, do a refresh and just like, get out of it and then come back in because, otherwise it does take a lot of your energy.
Right.
It really does. And I think right now we're just all moving at 100 miles per hour. So,
and our friends who are parents too, your kids are off for the whole summer. And so that's sort of another set of challenges.
It sure is.
Hence why you guys leave the country.
We leave with them.
Yeah,
so it's not a vacation really, but at least it's, a great time for us to all be together. And then again, not having the pressure of going to all of these events and having to show up and do that, which again, love.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a lot. And so that's the one thing in the summer that I feel like I don't have the pressure.
Right.
So it does actually allow me to be more present with my kids and my family and actually enjoy them more.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about the next place I need to be.
Yeah. Well, things are still busy at Boca Magazine for us because we also produce, some custom publications. And so we still have to do those. But it is nice to not have those back-to-backs. But this is something I wrote about last summer too, was, we're talking about charities, as things are slowing down, there's also a slowdown in volunteers and donations for a lot of charities, especially charities that work with children who, because a lot of kids don't have access to like free lunches and free breakfasts, or, people aren't just thinking about giving as much as they are maybe when they're feeling extra warm and fuzzy during the holidays. So maybe we should do that again where we did a roundup of ways that you can give back.
I love that.
These food pantries or tutoring, or, working with people with special needs, they still need help during the summer. And that's when they find that they get this super, like a drain in volunteers, whether it's people going away for the summer or just not thinking about that.
I didn't think about that either. Yeah. And I think that's so incredibly important. You just brought up a great point.
Yeah, because, obviously the biggest time that they get donations are, during the holidays, because everybody's thinking about giving back, Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And then maybe in the middle of July, people aren't thinking about like, what's the local soup kitchen up to?
No, they're on a cruise, on vacation.
Exactly. And that's when they need volunteers the most. And they actually get inundated with volunteers during the holidays. And they're like, we actually have to like turn people away. It's great. But, think about giving back all year round for sure.
I love that.
And that's a great way to, have your kids too, because there's so many organizations that have like ways that kids, like, little kids, even like in elementary school, that they can give back, obviously if your parents are there, and then teenagers, if they're still having to get those volunteer hours. So as we're, kind of getting into that slowdown, that's something to think about ahead of time and maybe making that a part of your summer plans.
I love that.
Yeah.
You should definitely do another roundup. I like that.
Yeah. Some of it's beach cleanups too, so then you can hit the beach and do good.
I love it. When you give, you receive, right? Like it makes you feel so good. So.
Yeah, when you clean up, you get a tan. It's perfect.
And you bring sand back home with you. But anyway.
It's okay. Yeah, speaking of Kyle's nemesis.
Listen, sand is my nemesis too. I'm much more of a pool person than a beach person. I just don't like the sand.
Yeah. There is something about sitting on the beach though. Like,
I agree, but then there's something about going home with all of your sand and no.
Well, you're helping me plan my weekend plans. I think I want to go to the beach or the pool this weekend.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you guys. And I know it wasn't the same without Portia here.
Really weird, I have to say.
Yeah, but don't worry, everybody. I know you're concerned but she will be back next episode. And if you were watching us, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, as well as check us out on our podcasting platforms. All of your favorite podcasting platforms, we're there. If you're listening to us, go over to YouTube and check us out there too. And then Palm Paradise is also on TikTok and Instagram. And of course, Palm Paradise is powered by Boca Magazine. Follow us online, subscribe to the magazine. And that's all for today. So bye.
Bye.